beautiful legends. I hope you guys are having a great week, and welcome to episode 2 of my Who, What, When, Where, Why series. In this one, we are not going to waste any time. We're going to keep it a little shorter, sweeter, and we are going to be talking about what comics are banned and why. And I thought this would be a great segment for me. Took a little bit of time to sit down and research anybody. I got my notes in front of me, so thank you. Shout out to Google. So this was great for me. As somebody who started collecting, really got back into comics during COVID, I missed a lot of history. There's a lot of things I don't know, and this was a great way to kind of dive into some things. And there's definitely 2 stories here that I want to buy trades. I want to check them out, and I've heard a lot of people talk about them, but I've never really got into them. So you're going to see a lot of clips, you're going to see a lot of images, you're going to see all that kind of fun stuff flash, so just bear with me as we go through this. So the first one we're going to start with is Elektra Assassin, and this is from 1986 to 1987, and it is by Frank Miller. This was an 8-issue series, and as you can see, I'm not normally a fan of this kind of almost like watercolor kind of art. Medieval Spawn was one of my first comics that I read that had that kind of art, and I wasn't really real big into it, but this looks wild. This looks crazy. This looks very graphic, very adult. I'm not even a big Elektra fan. I love Daredevil as a character. I love the TV show, but I've never read Elektra too much in comic books. But this looks right up my alley. I love adult stuff. I love mature stuff, but this is definitely aimed at mature readers. And one fun fact about this is there was actually a comic store manager in Lansing, Illinois, who was arrested. He had this comic displayed in his storefront. A police officer saw him, and he was arrested for obscene material. They thought it was, devilish images, satanic worshiping. This was the late 80s going into the early 90s, so there was a lot of that, heavy metal, rock and roll music kind of going around. So it was definitely a wild time, and just to kind of think about what comics we have on the racks today, it is wild. Marvel's doing the Red Band edition, which they're not really that Red Band, so it's whatever. But with Image and indie books, you have The Boys. The Boys is crazy. The Boys blows all these books we're talking about out of the water. But yeah, just a lot of things. Invincible, Spawn, you can go on and on and on about indie books, DC books especially, but it's really crazy to think that these books existed, and just seeing their covers, flipping through a couple of their pages was enough to get this dude arrested. But the bright light, and there's always a bright light to any story, it formed the comic book legal defense fund, but it was a lot of comic book creators and artists and comic book shops. They all pitched in to make this dude's bail, and his case eventually got overturned. But this was a great history point and a great turning point for comics, because now there's somebody to support you, somebody to have your back if there's ever a situation like that to happen. Next, this is way before my time, way older. I've seen this book a couple times on, I think it showed up on Only Slabs, or I don't know, somebody showed it off somewhere in the community. But this is Weird Mysteries number 5, and this is from 1953, and this is from Bernard Bailey. Basically, this was right after the wake of the Comics Code Authority. And I've done a lot of research into that and a lot of books in the time period from that. But as you can see, this brain getting ripped out of, I don't know if it's a zombie or Frankenstein or whatever, just was not, just was too obscene, too crazy. Like I said, a lot of books right around this time were being banned. And this list, I just kind of picked a few that I thought would be really interesting to talk about. There was 20, 30, 40 books on this list, so I could have kept going on and on and on, but I wanted to keep this a little sweeter. But we'll flash some of the interiors. I've never read this book. I don't have any weird mysteries or anything like that, but I do appreciate those books for the time period and the history they had. But it was about, I think it was about like vampires or Frankenstein or Dracula. A lot of those books was, but the horror element, the monster element, it just didn't cut it. So that was one of the ones that actually got cut. And like I said, right around that Comics Code Authority was a lot of transitional period for books. Next, and this is another one I definitely need to read, just like Elektra Assassin. And shout out to Tony Comiverse, Mark over at Legion of Comics. I know they've talked about this book and definitely have read this book. But this is Mouse, and this is from 1980, and I think it ran from 1980 to 1991, and this is from Art Spiegelman, and this actually won a Pulitzer Prize. And I didn't know much. I knew it was about the Holocaust and things like that, but I had no idea the depth of this book until researching for this video. So like I said, it's one of the things I really like. It helps me do my homework as a comic book collector. And it was actually from his father's experiences during World War II. So that was something I did not know. I thought it was just, him making up a story. Because all the cultures are actually represented as animals. Be like that, just kind of a funny book and kind of making fun of kind of a satire thing. But no, this was his experiences. He survived the Holocaust, so that alone makes me want to check this book out. I've seen it at Books A Million or Barnes & Noble. I'll pick it up in trade. But yeah, the reason a lot of it was frowned upon was because the different cultures are represented as animals, and I don't think those cultures really like the animals that they're representative. It was pulled from the shelves in Russia because of the swastika on the cover, so that was enough right there that you could kind of tell that this was going to be a deep, controversial book, and especially around that time, really didn't resonate like it did today. Now today, a lot of people appreciate the history, a lot of people appreciate what happened in the past a lot more than they did in the 70s and 80s and 90s, when a lot of that stuff was still settling down. And then it actually was in a Tennessee school board, and they pulled it as well because it was too mature. So I think I found a clip, I'll run it right there, of a little screenshot of there, but they actually did like an interview. It was on CNN, they were talking to the guy, so it was a whole thing. So that's one of the books I definitely need to check out, and definitely need to read, because like I said, it means a lot more to me now that I know it's a true story, not really a true story, but his experiences. Finally, we're going to talk about a book I didn't know. I didn't know that was going to be on this list, a book that I actually own. I'm collecting The Walking Dead Deluxe. We are on issue 94. I'm waiting for the run to complete, and then I'm going to read it. I haven't read a single issue, so good running joke with a couple people. But The Walking Dead from Robert Kirkman and Charlie Adler from 2003. Smaller story, that's why I saved it from the end. And a lot of these are, challenge things. A lot of these didn't get banned. Some got banned, some got put back on the shelves. But this was very interesting. In 2019, a school in Silverton, Idaho, challenged it. They pulled it from the shelves, pulled it from the library. It was graphic imagery, the covers. I think it was the compendium the first one. And eventually the board, they had a whole committee about it. They actually sat down and read some of the story, so at least they did their diligence. They didn't just see the cover, they didn't just see the graphic images and think, nope, gotta pull that. But they actually went back and put it back on the shelves after this whole thing, and then after it got back on the shelves, they're like, no, let's just completely axe it. So after somebody else complained, it got completely pulled, and now you can't even bring Walking Dead books or anything like that to the school. So it's just really crazy. I don't know if things change, because like I said, that was in 2019. It's just really crazy to think that a lot of books that we enjoy, you can walk into a comic shop, there's no mature things besides the red band. That's what Marvel's kind of doing. But if you're a younger kid, you can walk right up and buy an Image book. Some of it is for mature readers, so we'll see. But again, a lot of comic shops don't really kind of do that age thing. You don't have to be 18 to sometimes buy a book, and a lot of the more mature books nowadays you see are put up. I've noticed a lot of the more graphic books are put up on the higher racks, that way like little kids can't just flip through them or anything. But yeah, man, it's really crazy to think about how times and how the culture has changed over the next years. Please leave down in the comments, what are some books that you have read that might be on this list that are banned, you might own? Do you own any of these books? Are there any books that I missed on this list that I should check out? Because I might do a part 2 to this or anything, but I do really enjoy this series. It lets me, build my knowledge, build my lore, do some history, and that's one thing I really need to do with this hobby, is I do a lot of reading, but I don't do enough researching in the history of the books like I need to. So that's why I'm doing this series. I hope you guys enjoy. Leave me down in the comments what you guys think. Let me know if you own any of these books. Let me know if you guys read any of these books, and let me know if there's any books out there right now that you think are too graphic for people that might be banned. I don't think there's any, to be honest. But other than that, we're going to wrap it up and we're going to get out of here. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, do all this kind of fun stuff. It really helps the channel. Stay legendary, but most importantly, I hope you guys always find what you're looking for. Thank you.